Welcome to another episode of The Corner Booth, the official podcast of restaurantowner.com. Today, the restaurant industry is changing faster than ever. Learn from successful independent restaurant operators and other industry leaders as they share best practices that will help you engage your team, delight your guests, and grow your business.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Corner Booth. I'm Chris Tripoli with restaurantowner.com. We really appreciate you listeners following us. We appreciate you restaurantowner.com members for checking in and following and giving us your suggestions. And so please continue to do so. We've been coming at you now for a long time, providing you with informative discussion and very interesting operators that are willing to share their stories. We love your feedback and we appreciate the fact that people are willing to learn from one another. It's one of the big keys in our industry. So to continue with that, today we've got an exciting program. We're all over Florida, multiple units, fresh, bold counter service concept. You're going to hear all about it because today what I have for you is Chris Gannon. Chris Gannon is the co-founder and CEO of Bolay. Exciting concept. So Chris, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Corner Booth.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to share all of our successes, but also our learning opportunities, because we always believe that the bumps along the road of growing a business are they're learning opportunities. And so many wonderful people have shared their journey with me and opened up in such a collaborative manner that I think that our industry is beautiful in that nature of being able to just pay it back, pay it forward, and share the knowledge and all the information we all have garnered over the years.
Well, thank you for doing that. Well, Bolay is an exciting concept. We want to hear all about it. But before we do that, maybe you could just share with your listeners a little bit about you, Chris, where you come from, how you got interested in the business originally, maybe your early influencers, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So thank you. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, and everybody knows the Big Easy and how much fun it is at Mardi Gras and the dedication to flavor and food. And I think that has had a major impact in my upbringing. Growing up with my grandfather and my mother would take, 2 or 3 days on some of her recipes to make her roux. And then my grandfather, always told me I'm not a real man until I have perfected the crawfish boil to host for many people. Because if you mess it up big time. You have one shot, right? It's like desserts. Desserts are very challenging to make.
That is godly in that part of the country. No kidding.
That's right. And so you can host your own, then you get your own paddle, and it's kind of a rite of passage growing up in New Orleans. And I've always just, that culture of hospitality and welcoming people to your home. The first thing I was taught by my mother was when someone comes to your home, first thing you show them the restroom and offer them a drink right away. And little things of Southern hospitality of never picking up a plate until everybody is done. So you don't make the person who's still eating feel, like they're having to be rushed for enjoying their meal. And so it's those little aspects that I feel have had such a transformational impact on me and the restaurateur journey that I've been on. And then, we grew up very, I don't know the word. We grew up with a lot of love, but with not a lot of things. I guess that's the best way to say it in New Orleans. And then my father was this, starving restaurateur in New Orleans. And then he obviously got a wonderful opportunity to move to Tampa. And he got an equity position, and they created a little concept that I think we're all familiar with called Outback Steakhouse. And he was the famous creator of the Bloomin' Onion. And so obviously one of the most iconic appetizers of all time. And so, I got to watch and grow up in the original location in Henderson and understood, just the hard work and watching my father. And, then also the challenges of being part of a restaurateur family where you're on the road a lot and openings and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to see both sides of that spectrum. And then, went off to college myself. Was actually chief Osceola at Florida State. So go Noles to any of our listeners. That was a wonderful chapter of my life. And then I was trying to be I was a professional pole player for a little short stint there. And I one of the youngest kids to ever win the US Open. I got to win the Masters in Argentina, which is like their version of Augusta. And then decided I'm going to hang out my spurs, so to speak, and get back in the business world. And I got this incredible opportunity to work at True Luxe, a fine dining steak and seafood out in Austin, Texas, underneath some amazing leaders. And when you go to fine dining, it sets the tone of true hospitality. you're not just, a table touch. It's a table touch with specific questions and answers. And then I had one of my greatest mentors of all time, who I always brag about all the time, is Mr. David Tripoli. And every night he would call me at close and ask me exactly how many wine bottles we sold from 6 to 7 and what could have gone different in the shift and how I can improve tomorrow. And what are my notes? What are my takeaways? And he always did it in such a charismatic, positive way. And I think we all understand just so many people along our journey touch us. And you just remember aspects of each person and what they did and how they had that positive impact. And I'll never forget the positive impact that David Tripoli had on me in my younger career as a restaurant leader in fine dining, which obviously was way above my skill set at the time. They took a risk on me, and I could take care of a guest. Could I manage the dining room as fast as I need to be? I was getting there, but I could make sure that no matter what, the guest was happy, and that's the key to our industry. So then, long story short, fast forward that, I got back involved with I went to marketing and advertising agency, kind of got out of the restaurant business a little bit to try a different thing. So I have that skill set in the background of media buying and advertising and jingles and slogans and the art of the sale. And thought that truly helped me as well with Cody Lowry and his impact on me, and just truly setting yourself apart from other people, right? Not just being another transaction in someone's day in a life, being truly an experience. Yeah. And so that was wonderful. And then I said, the itch to get back in the restaurant business there. My father had the opportunity to become the franchisee of PDQ here in South Florida, and came back and joined him in that venture. So, which was very eye-opening to do fast food and drive-through and the pace and the type of, fried chicken. And, over a couple of years, I just had this burning desire to serve something I was really, sell something you're passionate about. Right. And
Yes.
And so that's where I saw a couple concepts out there that I really appreciated, that were selling a better for you product in a fast paced environment, right? Without that high-end risk. And so from there, on the back of a napkin in an airport with one of my closest friends, Lex, and my beautiful wife, Jackie, we created the Bolay story, the Bolay name. And it meant nothing because we made the name. It's Bol, B-O-L, and then Olay, to have fun, the combination of having fun, building a bowl, kind of a little bit of inspiration off the sunglasses, the Bolay sunglasses. And I can tell you that was probably one of the most difficult parts of the brand, was creating the name that brought it to life. And so fast forward, a bunch of dreamers in my garage created recipes, begged, borrowed, and stealed, and got our first lease and opened up.
Yes.
And we did, record sales the first day, line out the door. It was a beautiful story. And, we're almost 10 years old now. And I can just tell you, we got 10 podcasts if you really want to go through all the lessons learned and the opportunities.
Well, we're gonna have to jump into some. Yeah, we'll definitely have to jump into some. But this is great. There's some really good points here. So we're about 10 years old. So your first unit opened in what, 2016, I guess, or
Yep, February 26, 2016.
And what's kind of interesting here, Chris? Many times we've talked with people who've got some success in the restaurant business, but they came from another industry. And they've had other experiences. Other times, of course, we've talked with people and they share their starting, and they were heavily influenced with restaurants from the get-go. Parents, grandparents, cooking, learning hospitality, interned with some people, went right into the business. What I love about what we just heard is you have sort of a good combination of both. Early influences with grandfather and mother, obviously a successful father, and you saw the ups and downs with the entrepreneur experience that he had in restaurants. But you also had a successful stint in professional sports. You went into marketing and advertising before deciding, I'm going to now jump in and do my own thing. That's a pretty good, it's a pretty good story, and it's also a little unique. So that's wonderful. So you're right. Now we got to jump back in. We're 2016. We opened up that Lines You're Busy. Tell the listeners a little bit about the concept. Love the story of the name, but how does it look? What's the size, hours, menu? Who's the customer?
Yeah, so great questions. First, from my fine dining experience, we don't have any customers at Bolay. We only have guests, and we use that vernacular, and it's very difficult, especially when you start talking with anybody outside the organization. We just say guest. Now, who's that? No, it's our version of a customer. And because we truly believe that, and that's my New Orleans roots, that hospitality, that's the the training I got from Trulux and really welcoming a guest, never reaching your arm in front of them, always hugging them when you open your arms versus the block off. It's those little touch points that, again, I think transcend. And if we can bring that into the fast casual sector, that's our kind of blue ocean strategy. That's our strategy to differentiate ourselves, is bring that high-end fine dining hospitality to fast casual. And so our typical footprint's about 2,500 square foot, which is your ideal fast casual nature. You walk in, we have a beautiful restaurant with some modern looking colors with the teal and our amazing coral red influences. And you walk down the line and we have not just your typical steam wells. We have above counter presentations because we really want the food to be the highlight. We want to showcase the food. We have 21 menu items on the line, all have probably too many chef components to it. That might be one of our opportunities we grow, but it was what defined us and brought something to the table that nobody's ever, I don't think, been able to replicate. We have 6 different proprietary spice blends that we have in-house. We're 100% gluten-free menu with some very unique flavor profiles. And everybody says, well, what are you? Are you a Mexican concept, a Greek restaurant, Mediterranean? No, we're everything. And I always wanted to be that. Great flavors from around the world. Doesn't have to be just one profile. So our beloved raving fans and guests, they can come and choose a different flavor profile every day. From anything from a teriyaki chicken to a barbecue chicken. They don't mix on top of each other. But even when you do, every combination I've ever made at Bolay has always seemed to flow together. And that's the biggest fear that our guests have is, oh, they're not going to flow together. And I said, just trust me, just try it. And somehow they try it and they come back. And that's the key. And my father always taught me that from an early age, is to create something that's got comeback flavor. And so with our spices and then our marinades and our cooking methods and the high-end combination combi ovens, along with the finishing sauce and then a sauce at the end, it gives us that point of differentiation where our flavors can't be replicated. And, the opportunity is the constant execution. And I think that's really what separates great restaurateurs or great brands from okay brands, is that 24/7, 365 days a year execution that is one of the biggest parts of our industry.
Well, yeah, I think you said a mouthful right there. And that's the challenge that everyone is facing, is how can they do things, like you mentioned, create a point of difference? How can they have a very interesting concept where people feel the ambiance, they're welcomed, and they like it? And then have the match of the value, the quality, the portion, the presentation, the taste, but then have it always be that way. So that if they come in on a Thursday and they go, God, this was great, they bring some friends next week, Tuesday, it's just as great. I'm sure that's the challenge you face every day, is how to win the war every day.
And I'll never forget this. One of, again, influences, right? A health inspector, when we were first open, our first location, came to me and I was talking about our second location and our third. He goes, Chris, I've come to watch you guys. Your food safety scores are off the charts. Your dedication to cleanliness in the back of the house, which I think is the most important thing, starting at the walk-in, is on point. He goes, my advice to you is, number one thing that if you're going to expand this thing and be a chain, is consistency. The word C with the consistency, making sure that the food, the portion, the hospitality at this restaurant is the same at your next one. And that honestly is the biggest hurdle that faces our industry, especially when you have food that requires a little bit more of a culinarian to focus on it. We're not just pulling something out of a frozen bag, if you will. Everything's made from scratch every day, every restaurant, sauces, marinades. There's a lot to get 21 menu items up on that line. Yes. When you think of a lot of the other concepts, Chipotle, give or take, I believe only has 11. So we're 10 more up there than them. And, to get that boat up on plane, I always say, opening right at 10:45 a.m., there's a lot of moving parts and it happens fast, but it's also the exciting part of our business. It's the show. It's when you pull back the curtains, it's showbiz, and put your face on and go. And I'll, speaking of showbiz, I got a quick little story if you want to hear. Sure. Grand opening day, I brought every resource known to man to be there so we didn't fail. Cheney Brothers was an incredible organization that brought support, Lynch chefs, everything. I wanted everything perfect. And our incredible chef who helped us start to get the concept up and running. And I had, just a little bit of disagreement with the team and so on and so forth. And so he had to go for a little bit of a cooling walk down the back alley. And I get that. But we had a line out the door. And I looked at my support chef from Cheney Brothers, and he just looks at me on there for, he goes, Chris, smile, turn around, and go do what you do. And I just looked at the kitchen. I said, guys, put salt, pepper, make it taste good. Nothing goes on that line unless it tastes good. You got this. And they're like, we got this. And so I went out and did what I did in the front of the house, schmoozing everybody, and they kept making the food come. Staff came back in. It was beautiful. We have a great story about it. We laugh about it now. But it'll always remind me that sometimes just go make the guests happy. And you can figure it out. It's so funny when our POS goes down. It just happened. We got a line out the door in our restaurants, and my manager's panic. I go, hey, fine, guys, just start giving the food away. Like, we'll make it up tomorrow. We're going to have at it with our POS company and our tech company, but go make sure the guests are happy. It's not their fault. So go take care of them, and they'll never forget that. And so a lot of great lessons, again, from all my mentors that have really
that's true.
inspired me.
No, that's very true. It does. It starts and ends with guest satisfaction. What a great lesson to tell people, whether you're slow, whether you're busy, whether key people are out in the back cooling off, whether technology, of course, disrupts us. It's still a people business. And so
it is.
Keep the guest happy.
AI and robots and all that are coming, and we can feel it, we can smell it, but there's something that is real about human energy in a restaurant. Lines are great. Full dining rooms are great. Team members that are bustling with energy. It's just magnetic. You walk in a restaurant, you can just in 2 seconds smell, feel the energy. You don't even you could walk in and have your eyes closed and you'll just feel that energy. And I call that sixth sense in the restaurant business that just kind of, brings us alive. And I don't know, whenever I spend too much time in the office with all the fun behind the scenes of running a business, I go out and find my energy within our restaurants and our teams. And I jump on the line, build some bowls, talk to our guests, talk to our team, fist pump all the kitchen guys. And I have got my glass full for the day of positive energy.
And, and that seems to be what winning executives in our industry seem to be doing. I've heard that now for many people that, the behind the scenes business is very, very important. Obviously, we've got to, there is a business to the restaurant business. But with technology and the way we can gather information, executives are saying just what you're saying. They feel they can spend a predominant part of their time, most of their working time, in the units, from units to units, face to face with the guests. Monitoring the experience, tasting the food, serving the food, working with the people. We don't have to, in order to get our work done, spend as much time maybe as we were before behind a desk working machineries, and many people are calling their restaurants their office. Their car, bouncing from unit to unit, is where they get their work done. Sounds like you're heading that direction as well.
Yeah, we always have. And I feel, again, that when we get stuck in the office a little too much is when you feel that you get removed and all your answers to your problems are in the four walls. If you got a restaurant with high food costs, you go in real quick and look. I don't need the data to tell me actual or theoretical. I just look and see that the portions are too big, or they're under portioning, or they're over prepping, and you just look on the shelf, your sales, so you can pinpoint it really easily. And then if the sales are up, you can see why, because you have an incredible team with a great operator, selecting great talent and executing on all levels. And then if the sales are down in a restaurant, you walk in there and you can see the team isn't the right team. The energy's down. The music's not right. The food's not right. We're not trying to cure cancer or put a man on the moon here in the restaurant business. We're just trying to make someone's day a little bit happier with, a great meal and a great experience that they can't get from a grocery store.
So guests come in, you're about 2,500 square feet. Is it all inside dining, or do you have some outside dining as well?
So it's a combination. Majority of our restaurants all have some form of a small outside dining.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously, during the beautiful months of the state of Florida, they're outside. And still have a lot of guests outside during the winter, because I think there's something about that outside fresh air
Sure.
people just really come to love. And yeah, we've got great energy. We focus on having a comfortable environment. The music is set to have a nice, upbeat atmosphere that's just above your voice. So it's not a difficult conversation to have with someone across the table, but I'm
Good.
also protecting you not hearing the conversation from 2 tables away. And managing that every day is the challenge. And we put the volume switches close to where the operator is at all times. So he is the DJ. He or she is the DJ of the restaurant. They're controlling the energy. And we really talk about that quite a bit.
And they go through the line, I imagine, and order and everything is mixed right in front of them, or how does the actual transaction occur?
Yeah, so you walk down the line, you select all of your beautiful ingredients in the build your bowl. The team walks you through as you come down everything from our famous Asian sweet potato noodles, which are a 100% glass-free noodle, to our rice noodles, to our beautiful kale salad. Then you got oven roasted vegetables as your next couple options, your broccoli, your corn, your cucumbers, and so on and so forth. And then we have a lot of different protein options, a couple different chicken cooked different ways with proprietary spice blends. And we have a beautiful steak. We have oven roasted salmon. And then we have tofu for our amazing vegetarian guests, excuse me. And then we top it off with different toppings. And then we have about 6 or 7 different sauces to choose from spicy to vinaigrette to creamy, to kind of check off all the boxes. And then our last ingredient, which is kind of hopefully we like to say sprinkled in every station, is the smile, and that the food's made with love. And I think that's the most important part, with the passion from the back of the house. If they're just slinging food up, you can tell. If they're passionate about it and are proud of the product they do, and we talk to them, we call them chefs, and they're chefs. And then obviously you check out right there at the cash register, and then you go enjoy your meal.
So it's lunch and dinner, same menu, and is it 7 days a week?
7 days a week. We do, early on, I always admired Chick-fil-A on how they could create such an incredible brand being open only 6 days a week. And as you all know, how amazing that is to have 1 day of reprieve. And I get that. We almost went down that path, but instead we decided to go down a different path of really leaning in on the holidays. Fast casual by nature is not a big holiday experience.
Right.
So, for example, we took to celebrate our nation's birthday, 4th of July. It's never a big day for fast casual. And I remember being a young operator, there's nothing worse than having to come in on the 4th of July to run a restaurant when you've seen all your friends going out and enjoying barbecues and having fun. And so we took that to heart for our people. Obviously, the big major holidays were closed and closing early on Christmas Eve and all that. And so we remind that we're in the people business. So our people can go be with their families on these special days. And yeah, really enjoying that.
Well, maybe we could talk about that just for a few minutes, because we hear this a lot in our industry, people who are just getting started, or people who've been in the industry for a little bit now, they're just starting their growth. Their concern is over people, finding, building a team, maintaining a positive work environment in order to keep the team, retention, competing for people, labor wages. So, the labor part of our industry is really under the microscope. And a lot of operators seem to feel like we're having difficulty finding, training, and developing people to stay. You obviously have already, crossed so many bridges from initial concepting, opening, development of systems, and boom, 10 years of expansion. Maybe you could share a little bit about your thoughts on today's labor market and how is Bolay succeeding?
It's funny because I think every single conference I've ever been to since I've been in this business, everybody has said that same thing. Labor, people, rising labor wages. It never has stopped. It's always part of it. And so, I look at that as kind of a headwind or a tailwind, if you will. We're all dealing with it. We get to have the opportunity versus we have to deal with the opportunity of finding great talent. And we always call it talent because I remember Ms. Dan Turner, a very dear friend of mine, was the head of talent at Chick-fil-A. They say that you don't hire people, you select talent. And so we believe in that as well with Bolay. You select talent, you don't hire people. And it really starts with finding ladies and gentlemen out of the get-go that truly want to serve ladies and gentlemen. And that's true and first and foremost. So getting it right out of the gate. It's never easy. We go through times where we are beautifully staffed, ahead of the game. And then all of a sudden we're having DEFCON 1 meetings because we've got turnover and restaurant leaders and this and that, because it just comes in waves. it's just part of the game. I think it's part of the restaurant game. Everybody says, how do you remove? How do you remove? But for businesses, yes, there's going to be aspects where the robots are going to come in and help and automation, and you're going to have this incredible bottom line concept. And, is that where it's going? Maybe. It's not why I got into business. So hopefully it doesn't go too far down there. Like I said, the most rewarding part about our business is that you can take a emerging new team member, we call them team members, not employees, because we win or lose as teams, and inspire them and teach them this beautiful industry. And they don't necessarily need these crazy degrees to be successful in our business. They just need to outwork everybody and smile and learn, because there's nothing that's rocket science in our business. It's just day in and day out executing and bring your A game and realizing that we're all humans and we have emotions and we have bad days, but we have to leave those at the door and really be there for our team and our guest. And it's not easy to do day in and day out. Do you have team member challenges all the time? HR opportunities? Yes. But, I'm blessed to be part of an amazing organization called YPO. So I get to have kind of a really in-depth look at a lot of industries.
Yeah.
And every industry is hard. Every industry has people, labor problems. It's just different sets, different kinds, but we're all kind of, and still, unless you're this, AI tech company, that's all you do. But for the most part, everybody's got the same challenges.
Sure.
I just look at ours as very wonderful challenges because of what we're able to do for people. So many people have worked in the restaurant business, and I inspire, if there's anybody who's not a restaurateur, to really encourage young men and women to, if it's not a long-term career, fine, but please come work in our industry for a summer. Please come join our industry for a little bit, because I always tell parents, your kid is going to learn teamwork, food safety. That skill is going to last you the rest of your life, knowing how to handle food safety, protocols. And then most importantly, how to deal with a lot of different types of people, i.e. our guests, every different day. And so you get those skills, those transcend into a lot of different things throughout the rest of your life.
What a wonderful, and listeners, unsolicited, promotion for our industry. People sometimes get tired of me saying that, but I love it when I hear it from others. The answer to everything that you're saying is absolutely. Young people today who maybe will find their own way and choose their own careers, of course, but there are certain attributes, and you hit them all, that this industry seems to have. This idea of the multitasking, the idea of enjoying the aspect of service. These are traits that you can take everywhere and be successful. And that's exactly what you find in this industry. So some of the things that you were mentioning that I really think maybe deserve just a quick little underline for people who are looking at their staff is dwell more on what you were saying about selecting talent rather than, we're hiring people. That seems to be a good direction. I think a lot of times I'm told that people are trying to fill spots. I'm short, so I'm filling spots, which means we're hiring out of need. But if you're selecting talent, it looks like you're really looking more for character, friendliness, the ability for people to work together, be a successful team member, knowing that you can train the rest.
So it brings me back to another chapter in my early stage. I got to play with one of the greatest polo players of all time, Memo Gracida. And I'm going to preface this, I'll probably mention 2 times. I am not comparing human beings to animals or horses by any means. However, when I was with him, and to go be a great polo player to win, you obviously have to have a great horse, great horses. And I remember where he was really good at selecting horses. Very difficult to ride a horse and know which grade or not. And I remember we were trying a horse to see if it was going to be part of the team or whatnot. And Memo said, Chris, do not bring this horse into the stable unless it's better than your top 3. And I said, well, I need more horses. I can't go play with 3 horses. You need more horses to go in. He said, well, all you're going to do is fill up the barn with another horse that's eating hay, and it's very difficult to get rid of down the road. And when you want to win, it reminded me of how important teamwork is, selecting talent, whether it be your race car that you're doing, whether it be the team, whether it be the type of menu on your food. Being really good at selecting and adding to your your team, your barn, whatever occasion may be, is super important to go win. And it's that little extra detail of not just hiring to fill a slot because you need extra human beings. Take your time. Try not to ever get there. Stay out of the weeds. Stay in advance. We talk to our leaders a lot about that, about forecasting and looking and really connecting with all of our team to know who's going off to college and who's up for promotion, who's not, to know that, hey, at the end of the summer, a lot of our beautiful team members go off to college. Well, you got 4 or 5 team members that are pulling, 30, 40 hours a week. That's a lot of hours to go back and fill. You, Mr. or Mrs. Leader, need to know that and get ahead of that on your talent selection. And that's the biggest thing is, getting behind. And then, obviously, then there's just bad luck situations that happen and occur. But, then that's business, right? So it's just climb out of the hole. And when you get kicked down, keep getting back up.
Excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about the other areas of the operation, because you touched on it a couple of times, and that's the advent of technology. It's been a part of our business. It seems to be increasing now, obviously, as we're learning more and we're getting more. But even before we started talking about robotics or different type of machinery, or how we're going to maybe use kiosks instead of individuals to take orders, there was still the idea of, boom, website changed everything. Online ordering, curbside pickup, third-party delivery. How much of your business over these past few years has really maybe switched from dine-in to one of those other avenues?
Big part. Luckily, I would say we were an early adopter because I was on the younger side. So I am kind of on the more technology facing, adaptive, right? Receptive, whatever word you want to use. And I remember when Chipotle went broadcasting how they were going with their second makeup line and how important that was for them. I look and I was like, wow, well, we beat the big boys in something. So in our second, third restaurant, we realized real quick we had a problem with how many orders were coming through our digital ecosystem. I had a ticket, and that's a beautiful photo from one side of the restaurant to the other. And we just said real quick with our chief operating officer at the time, he helped design the third-party to-go station. And that's so important, right? To be able to make the food off the line and not disrupt the dine-in service. And so we did that, and it became part of our DNA. And then here's a good lesson for our viewers, with trying to find efficiencies and, we can still make the food on the main line. We found we had order accuracy issues. We had guest interruptions. And so we went back recently and mandated that every restaurant through the 2-power, lunch service and dinner service have to have their to-go stations open. And that has instantaneously made the line flow better. We get all the reviews on our order accuracy, execution being correct. And so, but to answer your question, yes, a large part of our business that didn't when we started has shifted to all digital. And even now, Chris, the amount of technology a new restaurant leader that joins our team has to know and learn, whether it be the back office accounting system, that's always been there now. But now they have to have multiple apps on their phone. They got to connect to this. They got to see the orders coming in from, whether it be the catering platform, whether it be the third party, whether it be our first party. And it's a lot. And making sure they all talk to each other. Luckily, the tech partners in our business have really been great in developing, getting better. But the tech in the restaurant, and I think hotels gets a lot of great stuff. But I'd say in the restaurant sector, we're always a few years behind what other industries get. And, the guest has another expectation of what, the moment someone uses, rideshare service app and the, amazing speed and way it works, and then they go to use our app, we don't have the resources to combat with that. And the expectation is that. So we fall short. And that's the challenging part, I think, about this is the technology gap in our industry. Because, unless you're a big boy, they say big boy, the big national chains, we don't have the resources. So all of our stuff is white label, off the shelf, connecting to each other in the best manner possible. And managing each one is a challenge. We don't have tech teams, but you almost need them these days. You almost need a whole infrastructure just to manage your technology platform.
So the digital component, though, with the online ordering, I love that. The second line, the separate to-go pickup station, third party. Am I correct in assuming that this might be as much as 25% of your total sales today?
Oh yeah, our digital platform with our first party, we call it first party, our own loyalty app, and so on and so forth, plus third party, plus catering, is easily 30 to 40% of our revenue now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, a lot of the catering is always a big part of it. It's the third party growth that has been exponential. And, I get it. People don't have the time to leave their office I don't, a lot of times, I don't have the time to get in the car, go drive, deal with parking in there. So sometimes the easier to order it and have it show up in your desk. We prefer, if any of our guests are listening, to always, if you care about the restaurant industry, always support the restaurant's native app. Because at the end of the day, they're not paying as many fees. And we found ways that so that's always important.
It's good to know. Yeah, that's very, very true. So I'm of the, theory that the companies that are really, really doing well with their digital business are adapting quickly, promoting it well. And it's because they've seen that our world is doing this both ways. I tell me if I'm assuming correctly that we've got diners out there that, as you mentioned, they're busy, can't always leave work, have other things on their mind. We're not always cooking at home. So there's the convenience factor. I think the convenience factor is maybe boasted because they're doing other things every day as a lifestyle decision through their handheld apps. Groceries are being delivered. We do retail shopping by having everything shipped to our front door. So, of course, I'm getting hungry. What do I want to do? It better be convenient in my handheld because I'm going to order it that way. Either order it in advance or get it delivered. But I also think that so many concepts, and this is where you would fit, where you have uniqueness, freshness, variety, it's something that is a little bit different, is also fitting in. And that's just because people know so much more about food now. Maybe we can thank the Food Network or celebrity chefs' cookbooks, but convenience dining years ago used to be calling your favorite Chinese food restaurant or having pizza delivered. Now, granted, that was like 2 decades ago, and it's an entirely different world. But what I'm finding is that it isn't just the convenience. It's also, we know that we can get a wide variety. So it's get it convenient, but get everything that I might want can still be done in my hand and a quick pickup or delivered to my office. I mean, is that why you think you might be doing that much business digitally?
Yeah, and it's 100%. And I think a lot of it is also with these, third party, call them partners, right? We used to look at them as third party enemies. Now they're partners because they're just really part of our ecosystem. The consumer does get to choose all that. And so how do you stand out a sea of everybody where, the decision is that easy and, the reviews, the execution, and the challenging part is, food doesn't travel as well as you're fresh out of a restaurant. Your best thing is always the experience, the music, the vibe, the smells, the team, and so a large part of our revenue now is where we don't even get to see the consumer, the guest. And so, navigating around that I think is going to be a growing challenge, but a lot of people still, just being third party doesn't work. Brick and mortar, you see, still is important. The experience, the brand, all the money we spend on that sign outside, on that exterior sign, that's all still important. Will that be important 5, 10 years from now? I don't know. I think right now it is. And I haven't seen some of the things that are tried and true that people just want to be around other people and other human beings and human energy, like I spoke about. I don't think that's going to go away. At some point, you don't want to just sit in your office all the time. You do want to go be around other human beings. So.
No, I think you're exactly right. Boy, did we learn that through COVID. I mean, we learned obviously the need for convenience, car side, third party, got it. That I just think that was more like where we were heading. We were heading anyway towards the convenience trend. COVID came and it was basically like dumping gasoline on a fire. Just got us, there a whole lot bigger. But what we also learned was how much people miss that socialization that you just brought up. I think this is a people craving interaction. And boy, did they flood back to our dining rooms. I think people do like to have that experience that you've mentioned, to feel the vibe, hear the music, have servers serve. So I would agree with you. I don't think that's ever going to go away. Now, granted, it sounds like success is going to be shifting as you have to make sure that you can welcome both ways, the on-site and the digital diner. But I don't think one is going to take over the other. In-store dining has just had to modify to welcome the people who are going to want the convenience of your menu item, but delivered to the house or to the office. But I'm also hoping with you that we're still going to never eliminate the need to have service. People enjoy that. It isn't like some people still feel that going out is sort of a luxury. That changed years and years ago. I think dining, and I'm so thankful that it is this way, dining is just part of our socialization. It's part of our makeup. It's what we do. I mean, people eat out, whether we're grabbing something because we're in a hurry in the car, or we're feeding the family, or it's date night. I mean, we eat out. And I appreciate everyone doing that. I'm sure you do as well.
No, we do too. And look, we also love cooking at the home. My wife is an incredible cook, and I love to cook as well. However, that requires time and energy to go out and buy all the ingredients, and the amount of waste that you always have cooking at home because you always never get the right portion, and the right ingredients that you can get at a restaurant. And then the fun of cleaning the dishes. That's the part that nobody enjoys doing, is the dishes at the end. And inevitably, even if you make a simple meal, you look and you're like, wow, we only fed 4 people. How did we create that many, not only dishes that we ate off of, but all the pans?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a dishwasher steward, as we call them, to help do that in your home. So it is the challenge, right? And then, do your dishwasher. Okay, well, you got to unload the dishwasher.
Time to go out, grab that fork, and let's go somewhere.
Yep, and hopefully you go to Bolay because you're. Well,
let's talk about the Bolay guest.
Yeah.
Where are they? How do you find them? How do you do your marketing? Is it community involvement? Is it all online? How do you stay in touch with your guest?
Major community involvement. We are a very philanthropic organization. We always try to get to the word yes to partner up with any charitable organization. We love to be in the community events and being there and sampling our food. We love to discuss with our current guests in the dining room how they heard about us. We get a lot of first timers being female audience. They love coming and trying Bolay. And then a lot of our male demographic, I hear left and right is, oh, my wife or my girlfriend or my daughter brought me, or my child brought me. And so there's nothing better than word of mouth. Obviously, you have all the social media, the influencers, the paid marketing that you can do to be top of mind and really generate that awareness. But I think when you execute and you give a great product, it typically speaks for itself. And it is hard to stand out in a sea of millions of restaurants and competitive nature. But I think that's where you just day in and day out need to execute.
Yeah, it does come back to that. You've said that a few times. I think people have really got that point, that the best marketing message is within the 4 walls. Mm-hmm. If you could just execute consistently. Mm-hmm. Sounds like that's your foundation that you work from.
Well, excellence is one of our core values, and it's never to be excellent, because I think that is a very difficult thing to be excellent day in and day out. But the pursuit of excellence, the constant drive to sharpen your pencil and become excellent and never give up trying to get there. The moment you just accept where you're at is when you start to fall backwards. So that constant push to become excellent is hard. Look, I'm not going to say that we're this perfect organization that executes flawlessly all the time. We have opportunities like the best of them, and we constantly working on it. And this business is like whack-a-mole, where this month we got issues with food cost, and the next month is the order accuracy, and the next one is turnover, and next one is supply chain. And it's just, the restaurant business, it's like whack-a-mole. So you just constantly put in process and system procedures, but you're constantly trying to work on all your other opportunities as well.
So how many units are there now? How big of a company is Bolay?
Yeah, thank you for asking. We're 23 restaurants. Our goal is to become nationwide and, long-term, maybe worldwide, who knows, right? But, it's a long journey, but we're really excited to keep expanding throughout the state of Florida. There's a lot of opportunity in the state of Florida, mm-hmm. and we are always looking for potential JV or franchise partners, not to become a one-off franchise brand per se, but a regional, culture-driven, food-driven operator that wants to come add value to our organization, but also take Bolay to new cities or states outside of Florida we are always looking for great partners because we see them as value add to come and make our business better and make us look at it differently,
So are most of the 23 units in the state of Florida either joint ventures or franchisees, or most of them your own company operated?
All of them are currently company operated in the state of Florida.
Got it. Well, that's a major achievement. You've had a very, very interesting first decade. This is a great sounding concept. It's committed to wonderful values, working from a strong operational foundation. And with 23 units, it sounds like you're heading in the right direction. So I just got to ask you one last thing, and that's what's next? What's the short-term plan next few years for Bolay? What do you see as your short-term objectives?
Short term, we are looking to continue enhancing all of our four-wall execution, if you will, and then continue to grow out the state of Florida, building up, a few units a year. And then, like I said, potentially looking for a regional franchise partner to take Bolay into a new state, whether it be the Carolinas, the Northeastern kind of corridor, maybe Texas, somewhere along those lanes, to really take the brand into new areas and become value-added partners. We have an incredible leadership team, gone through many wonderful additions to our leadership team to help take Bolay to the next chapter as well.
That's great. That's great. Well, this has been wonderful. I mean, I wish we had more time. We would just keep on talking. We may have to just have you come back perhaps and talk a little bit about how your great team took the next step, and love to talk with you once you do find that regional step and we can talk about the challenges there and the moving into the other states. But in the meantime, wow, you just keep on keeping on and hammer the success that you're doing within Florida. So everybody, we've been talking about Bolay, fresh, bold flavors, Bolay Kitchen. If you're in Florida, enjoy yourself. If you're not, well, look them up on the website, drool, and hopefully you'll find one coming to a neighborhood close to you soon. Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, continued success, and to everybody else out there, go make it a great shift. And hopefully we can cross paths again real soon on another Corner Booth.
Thank you for joining us on the Corner Booth. We'll be back next Tuesday with more inspiration, insights, and industry best practices to help you engage your team, delight your guests, and grow your business.